Okay, hello. There she is, the woman of the hour. I'm so grateful to see your face and you look great. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Um, that was a very, very, very quick break we had. It was like it ran a little bit over, but we wanna, keep going. It's such an honor to be here with you, Ivana, and introduce you. I have been so passionate about having you here for some time now, and you're just so gracious with your time to be here, even after battling an awful tummy bug, I know, all day and night, and to show up today, which is just a testament to your resilience, which is our word of the weekend. So, um, in the few times we've communicated, it was really clear to me how much you just love and understand this craft. And your technique is just, it's so unique and so special. And I'm just so honored for you to be here to be the one to speak to us about it today. So, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Is anybody listening to this right now?
Yeah, so let's bring up some people so you can see some faces. How about that?
Faces.
Yeah, so let's get some faces. So if you want to volunteer and be part of the talk back and ask questions, go ahead and raise your hand. I'll bring you up so we can
Would you
see.
want me to say a couple of things first? Or I'm just wondering, 'cause I thought we were going to have 25 people and I'm just going to talk a little bit and then
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, they're coming up now. They're going to turn their cameras on, bringing them up. Okay. And there, you'll start to see faces. And just go, as soon as you come up here, guys, go ahead and turn your camera on so she can see you. There we go.
Layla. Hey. So anybody else want to have the camera turned on? There's got the ring light. Gotta have the ring light. Uh,
Okay.
I'm Zad. I'm Zad. Am I saying that? I'm saying that so wrong, aren't I?
That's right, Hamzad.
Zad, I said it right? Oh, cool.
You said it right.
So where are you from? 'Cause I just got back from Saudi Arabia not too long ago, and it seems like a familiar type of name.
I'm originally from India.
India, well, very different than Saudi Arabia. Anyway, Michelle, Damaris,
Hello.
that's easy. Saya, AJ. Okay, so I don't know how people are going to come on, but should I go ahead and start talking about
All right.
stuff?
Yep. I'm here if you need me, okay?
Okay, so aren't you going to be asking? Oh, they're going to ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're not going
I'm
to.
here.
Okay, so I'm going to like talk a little bit about the technique, and then I'm going to have you put out what we talked
Yeah.
about, which would people want to know about um, booking jobs, that kind of stuff, like what people look
Yeah.
to do that. Here's the thing, just so bottom line, everybody understands that I also script doctor, I also work with directors, I also work with producer writers, and I also work with actors. And why I was in Saudi Arabia, I was talking about that, was because they need somebody to come out and to help their industry, which is a pretty new industry, become important via directors writing and casting, as well as the actors themselves. And so when I I try to give my actors, but I remember I work with the whole team because we tell a story together. We're not telling a story separately. We have to know what our overall objective is, from a point of view of what the writer and director has in mind for it. So we're all telling the same story together as a team. It's very, very important in storytelling. And also the idea of what makes people want to cast you, but more importantly, want to watch you once you get cast, is that you're telling a story that's of pain equals some version of prosperity. It's a choice that people have to make. They could use their pain and sit in it, become defeated by it, self-destruct by it, or they can use that very same exact pain of their life, their insecurities, their fears, their traumas, and they could use that to overcome and win with it. Now we want to see the journey of a dynamic person. Dynamic people are people who take the worst of circumstances and they say, I'm going to find a way to learn, evolve, to be able to resolve, and to have ultimate catharsis. Now, for us to watch people, this is one of the problems I have when I was an actor, was that all the techniques I was studying was like, let's get to the emotional stuff, whether it's imaginary or or real, but emotions. It's all about the emotions. And I was like, I don't want to look at we don't want to be around people that are just so emotional because they're really hard to be around. They're kind of like annoying. It's truthful and it's honest, but they're kind of annoying because they say, "Oh, pour me this, pour me that, pour me this, pour me that," and so it's like it's hard to be around for those people for free, let alone paying money to see them. So my point of view is like. I don't want to play someone where I have to sit in my pain. I also don't want to watch someone that's sitting in their pain. I want to watch someone do something about it, be proactive. I want to watch winners. I want to watch people who, and winners aren't just people that like literally win. It's people who try to win. It's one of the reasons why Rocky is one of the most important movies that it's always on the top 10 list is because he wanted to win so badly. And everybody remembers that the last bout and Iraqi was that he won. Well, he didn't win, he lost. But because he was such a winner in our eyes, because he tried so hard to overcome life circumstances to get the woman that he loved, to get his beloved boxing career, and that we saw him as a winner. And it's interesting to me how the other Rockies, two, three, four, five. He won, but he didn't. It wasn't as. It's not iconic. And then Creed, and we worked together on Creed. What we did was we made the choice that we were going to find some kind of resolution. And I usually don't tell people's personal stuff, but he talked about me and the personal stuff we use on NPR and the New York Times, and that we used that his son had died. His son had died and he had never had resolution for that. So we used Creed, the Michael B. Jordan, as a substitution for his son to be able to finally resolve the trauma of his loss. And so instead of making the negative choice when he got a cancer, the diagnosis was not to see it as like this is the worst thing, but look, I've lost my best friend. I lost my wife. I've lost my career, my son. So dying isn't such a bad thing. I'm going to see them in heaven. But I'm going to use this to to inspire Michael B. Jordan's character, Creed, the son of Creed, is that I'm going to say, I will not do chemo unless you really step up your game and really try to win. Because if you don't, I have nothing to lose. I'll just go ahead and let the diagnosis be real, and I will go to my good graces and meet up with the people I love. And so we made everything positive. How do we make cancer positive? We made it positive. How do we make a situation where losses, the huge loss of his life a positive thing? Because he's now able to get a second chance to fix his relationship with his son via Creed, the boy. And so this is what we do is like we try to like there's an instance of an audition. I worked with Travis Fimmel on Vikings. He played the main lead, Ragnar Lothbrok, and it's a hit series. And how we got that is that everybody was playing because he's Australian, and so they didn't want to hire anybody that wasn't Canadian or had a European passport because they were getting more money for that. But they couldn't deny his audition. His audition was um, so good that they said, screw it, we will get less money, but we want this guy to be the star of our show. What did we do? It was a fight scene with his wife. And I mean, it's just people were coming in apparently and just fighting and fighting and fighting. It's like having this contentious fight. What we did was give him the choice that he was actually, this is Viking foreplay. It's not a fight, it's foreplay. This is what they do right before they have really great sex, even though there was no sex. That was, you saw, that was our inner work, that this was going to be the things that Vikings do, how they do it. And so they couldn't get the audition out of their head because everybody was making it contentious. We were making it something that made their marriage work. So with Charlize Theron, Devil's Advocate, in the audition, she was totally wrong for the part. She was too young, she was too beautiful, she didn't have the right accent. There was like all kinds of things that she was wrong for, but they couldn't get her audition out of their head. So she really must have had like 8 callbacks, and they kept saying it's not going any further because you're just not the right type. But we just kept upping every time she went back to just keeping the trying to solve something that was personally happening to Charlize at that time, to use it in the work that she was resolving and having catharsis through the choices that she made. So, and as opposed to being, uh, yes, she gets her baby cut out of her and one of the scenes that we did for the audition. And there's a monologue there that as opposed to making this something that was maudlin and depressing, which is what we or victimy, I always try to take the victim out of being a victim. It's really important because again, we don't want to see you being a victim. You don't want to play a victim, you don't want to be a victim. But you'll be victimized in life. But how do you take the victim out of being that? So that's what we did because she was definitely a victim in this movie. And so what we did was we made it about finding her resolution and catharsis of something that was plaguing her at that time. And it was just, you couldn't get it out of your head because the bottom line is that people all over the world. I've done workshops everywhere, every culture, every every type of person, I've come to find that there's certain things that are just consistent. It's just that I always use the science. I use science. Science is true and real. You can't deny science. Science is science of psychology, behavioral science, the science of cultural anthropology, which is the history of being a human being, why we do the things we do, why we have religions the way we have religions, why languages the languages that we have, why like in French there's many words for love, and German there's a lot of words for power. This different culture. But the bottom line is, everybody, is that we all have the same insecurities. We all have issues of feeling abused by someone, left by someone, having someone feeling diminished by someone, feeling not good about ourselves, feeling we're lonely, feeling misunderstood, and issues with parents, with relatives, with siblings, issues with your friends. And they're all the same. It's very really quite fascinating, the sciences of being a human being. And also it's really fascinating for you to play it from that point of view. Because again, what we're doing is taking the science of it so people relate to it. If we relate to you, we will laugh in the right places and cry in the right places because we've been there. That's what makes us do that. Again, the most important thing that we have to do is tell a story. I started the whole conversation with we have to tell a story. Now, the best way to understand how to tell that story is from the correct character's point of view, the overall objective, the scene objective that supports the overall objective. So we're telling a uniform story, and the obstacles that are getting in the way that help us be able to have a more exciting journey to overcome, a bigger mountain of things that get in your way to get what you want, which is makes it more exciting and dynamic. And then and only then do you then work out the personalizations, because the personalizations are key in understanding from your point of view so that you're relating to it the way you want your audience to. And your audience could be casting, your audience could be director, producers, your audience could be just actual audiences. But when the people cast you, they're casting you because they would like to see you. I mean, it's not because there's any other reason. These people that make them feel that the world is going to want to see you, and they are able to be able to present that to the world through their auspices of their movie, TV, or play. And you have to provide that. And it's really simple. What I do in my classes, I often say, like, this is an audition, you wouldn't even get a call back, and I'll tell them why. I say this, you'll get a call back, but you won't book it because this is the reason why. And then if but then I'll say, okay, this was a booker, this booked, and this is why. And I used to be in casting. As I told you before, I work with directors and writer producers, and they send me their tapes, and including the stars that I work with. They send me the tapes because they have options to make their decisions about who they want to work opposite. And they send me tapes of who they like the best. in terms of the five best, kind of thing. And it's always weirdly enough that people will say, I see how that person's doing something, see how they listen, see how their behavior. Rarely say, I love the way someone said a line. But actors get so caught up in lines, and lines aren't are not the be all and end all. Oftentimes, how you could do more with a what you're thinking about inner monologue, what you need, behaviors than you can with lines. And my big stars became big stars because they cross out lines. They go, this I could do with I could do more with this with behavior than I can with saying this line. So that's really important. How you listen, very important because I gotta tell you, the one thing that I hear from people all over the world, actors don't listen, but actors will say, we listen. We listen, we heard every word the other person said, but you don't listen the way people listen. Let's go back to science again. How we listen. If I were to tell you about my abusive mother, because she was very abusive, very violent, mentally ill, a hoarder. I mean, she was a one-stop shop of crazy. Okay, so she and was always telling me she never had me. I was stupid and ugly, and then on and on and on and on. Um, and so when I talk about that, you're not thinking about how does Ivana's mother look and what did she act like? You're thinking about your abuser. That's what you're thinking about. That's how we listen. We listen first in like in our own stories. We hear in our own pictures, in our own stories, our own things. And then active listening, which is the difference between getting a job or not getting a job, is this. You take in the information the way you've heard it from your inner work. Then you think, how do I feel about that? And then the active part is, what do I want to do about it? And it's all that happen in your head, but it all creates really interesting behavior. So that's kind of like the upshot of what the 12 steps help you do. You first do the first three steps. The Chubbuck technique is 12 steps. The first three steps is telling the story. Overall objective, scene objective, and then the obstacles get in your way. And then the rest of the tools are there for you to personalize it in the most profound and special way that will help tell the story that makes you feel most invested, that allows your audience to be most invested. The last step, step 12, is really important because you got to do a lot of work to be great. It takes a lot of work. That's the thing that I will tell you, if you're lazy, this is not the job for you. Because you have to do a lot of work, and that's 12 steps, it's a lot of work. But the last step is let it go. Allow impulses to happen because you built a beautiful house. Now I changed, if I paint my walls, I said I want to paint my walls yellow. Well, if I don't have a wall, it's just the paint's gonna drip to the ground. If I have a wall, but it's not connected to anything, I'm gonna paint the wall, it's gonna fall over. So you have to build the house from the bottom up, the building the structure and the wood and the walls and the roof and the bricks and whatever it is. It's like a lot of stuff you have to do to make a working house. Electrical units and this and that, the other thing. But then when you built that beautiful house, one of the reasons why directors like working with my people is because they can tell them to do anything if they built this house. Because you say, you know what? I don't like the yellow. Let's make that blue. And you can do that because the house is built. Or I don't like modern furniture. Let's make it more antique furniture. You can do that. And I'm giving that's analogies, obviously. Is that you can do that because you built this very strong structure of a house. And that's what the 12 steps give you. So the 12th step of let it go so that you can just allow impulsive reactions to happen, which is what you want to have happen. So that being said, questions?
Go ahead and raise your hand if you have a question. We'll go in that order. That little digital hand. Let's see. I don't see any.
I see one person, Michelle. Michelle had her hand up.
Hello.
Hey, okay, so what's your question?
I have a question. So I've actually read your book And I appreciate the fact that you're able to just break it down in these steps, which I think for actors as they're learning is really important to kind of know what to do.
Mhm.
What would your advice be if, because there's so many steps, sometimes I just get really overwhelmed with too much information that it almost pulls me out of the work, where those instincts start to not quite be as astute because it's too much in my head.
Well, that's why let it go is so important. If you let it go, it will just come up in ways you didn't even expect. The let it go part is, I've heard from people all over the world that it is the hardest one to do, to trust it's going to be there when you just let it go. But that's what you're doing is you're not trusting it. That's why you're in your head. And what you're doing is going, well, I have to think about this, and that. But I'm saying just let it go. Like literally let it go. Don't think about what you came up with. Don't think about what you did. Don't think about yesterday's performance or the first take that you did. I just go on to just let it go. Because you'll find some things, really cool things will happen. There's a reason why my people have gotten like that's some of the biggest awards on the that can be given out in each country as well as in America, is because that let it go part is really important in doing really cool, interesting things that you go like, where'd that come from? I never did that before. But that all comes from because remember you are, and this is important. However many years you are on this planet, you have that many years of experiences, good and bad, that you have feelings about. And then there's how you took that information, how other people responded to how you took that in, how you responded to their response. And there's accumulation of like many, many, many um, experiences from the moment that you're born to the time that you die that are going to be in your brain. I'm going to give you a little science lesson right now. Science time. Okay, science lesson about your brain. Your brain, when you're first born, is smooth. Because and then after you're born, what happens? Every visual, every thought, every impulse that comes in at you becomes a line. And old people, when you look at their brain, it's modeled and it's got all kinds of lines in it and stuff. So when you make choices in the same way that like if you trust it will be there, it'll be there because our brain is set up to do that. It has all those images. Now sometimes we have trauma and we forget it because we need to, because otherwise we will be living in pain all the time. But it's there, it's in your subconscious. So that kind of thing is, and I also have a device, and there's a new book. I have a new book coming out. Not a new one, it's an updated, revised version, 20 years of all the new stuff that I've learned. That we have like ways to get to your subconscious that helps you understand what's the most important thing you want to deal with to be able to overcome and have catharsis. But remember, if you let it go, you will find yourself, it will come up in ways that you didn't even expect. But that's a good question. To let it go, hard to do, trust, it will be there and it will be.
Thank you.
That's,
AJ, go ahead.
that's right. I'm going to add something to that. My husband was a director. He passed away a couple of years ago, but he worked with some really great people, including Christopher Walken. And Christopher Walken would between every setup, he always had so much writing on his page. You know, I tell people how to write on their page, whoever's read the book. He had so much writing on his page, working in the same way that they teach in the book. And between every setup, he'd go back to his trailer and erase the stuff that wasn't working and use the stuff that was working and keep, it was constantly a work in progress. It was never, I'm done. It's like it was always like let's add, let's change, but off of what was working and off of what was not working, made changes and until every setup, every like take you to be thinking in terms of okay, what is it that I need to this I fell out on this moment. How do I fix that? And so it's a lot of work, but it pays off because you end up with performances that are like the people that do that kind of hard work. Meryl Streep talked about it in interviews. She said, it's not for the faint of heart. You've got to do so much work to really be great, but it's like it's a lot of work, but you would uh so you have to do to be great and to get the jobs that you want to get because someone else will. again, I've been in casting, and I produced 4 movies, and it's like really someone's going to come in and blow you away. And so whatever you didn't do will be very obvious. And the people that really put their hard work into it's really obvious too. And those are the people you want to work with. And like, wouldn't you like, here's the thing about like, would you go to a doctor that didn't keep learning? You want to go to a doctor like that? You can nod your heads. No. Yeah. Okay, so it's like a little interaction. Okay, so the it's like I want to go to a doctor that keeps learning and growing and being better at what they do because I know that's going to help me in my health. And the person who just got a med school and residency and that's all they're ever going to learn, it's like, well, I don't want to go to that person. So you gotta keep learning and growing and studying. And people ask me, what is the most important part? Is the taking chances, taking risks and bold choices, and having um, extreme work ethic. Okay, now I'll answer the question. I kind of went off on a tangent. Okay, so
Ivana, how are you? I actually have a very similar question as well to the last one as well. I've also read your book, excellent book, by the way. I've read it twice, but I also was a little confused on, especially on the objective and super objective, as well as the motivations and the obstacles and everything like that. Was actually thinking about actually taking your in-person class in LA because I know a few friends have taken yours as well. And so could you just give maybe a quick example of a couple of those in action and how to I understand the concept of it all, just not particularly how to play it when you're doing a scene. So I'm just kind of trying to figure out how to kind of put the two together.
talk about magic pills that actors look for. Okay, it's like there's no magic pill at how you do something, So it's like, how do you play a prostitute? Someone asked me, and I said, well, it depends on your past history and why she is a prostitute, and or him a prostitute. Why? So what is going on? Who's the other people in this person's life? What has preceded this? Where does it end up going? You're telling a story. You have to tell the story. Objectives tell the story. Now, I always tell people if you're confused about what objective you want to use for the overall objective, which then was down to subset, to the overall objective. Look at the overall objective of the script. Scripts have overall objectives. When I work with writers and directors, I say, why do I need do a emotional diary? For those who've been in my class, we do emotional diaries that help us figure out the real deep and the deep stuff that really is set up in our subconscious. That's based on a thing called automatic writing that a lot of therapy does to just get to the truth of how you really feel about stuff, not the conscious mind, which is there to help the normal people just manage life. And as an artist, you have to know you have to be aware of what really drives you. Like Herman Melville from Moby Dick, he didn't write, he wasn't just writing about just a simple story about a ship captain and a whale. He was talking about his demons and all that meant to him, specifically to him. And that's how we get the language, and that's how we get the overall objective of him trying to resolve his demons. And through the reading of the book, you'll figure out what the demons are that he needs to overcome. And so you look at the whole script and you say, what is the overall objective of that script? And that will help you define your purpose in that, and that telling that story together as a team, And they also, here's the thing too, you go in for an audition, these people will say the person's good, but the person they're not right for the part. And it's because you didn't consider what was going on in the script. Okay, now we're talking about the auditions. You get 3 pages sometimes, but you get a log line that says this is what it's about. You get an idea. This overall objectives, when you read the book, they're really simple. They're the simple needs. I need to have legacy. I need to have love without pain. I need to have a family. I need uh, to, uh, to have to resolve my issues with my father. He's my father proud. But whatever the overall kind of need is, it's a simple concept. of need of mission. And then it goes into the subset of scene objectives that will support it. They give you, I need you to prove to me that you can love me without hurting me for the overall objective of scene of love without pain. And then every beat, which is every thought change in the scene itself, then you have to have what I call mini objectives or beats and actions, of which then you're still supplying the support of trying to get what you want as an effective person. But the best way to learn something is on your feet. Acting is not a reading art form. You read, it's important that you read the book before you study with me, but that's so you can understand what I'm talking about when I walk you through it and say, what do you come up with? What is your overall objective? This is why that didn't work, or that's a really good choice. This is why that's a good choice. But the thing is, you have to do it on your feet. Acting is a physical art form, and you cannot get it by having a conversation. And so what you would do was in terms of taking classes, and say mine's not the only one that you can take, although I think it works, obviously, because a lot of people seem to do well by it, but I'm not the only game in town. So the thing is, just find someone that you connect to and make and you feel that you do your best work with. And and that's what you want to do, is do it on your feet, learn on your feet. And not in private reality. Sometimes she'll say, I want to do privates only. And I say, well, you gotta get used to having an audience. Audiences respond, they laugh, they cry, they respond, you feel their energy. And if you just do privates, you feel safe when you get in front of a crew or a real audience or your crew, which is like usually 100 people. It's like you're gonna have to be ready to like be doing things for the sake of understanding that the larger reason why we exist. Let's just talk for a second about the world we live in today. It's very, very separated. There are people who feel one way, and then other people who feel another way about it. And but it's very, very volatile and very contentious. What people's opinions about what's going on in the world right now. We as artists have the ability to make choices that will allow, through our choices of trying to say, this is something that I feel that I'd like to overcome, then I can put it as choices in my work and therefore subliminally help your audience also find answers too. And I just think I think it's the obligation of the artist, whether you're a dancer or a writer or actor or painter or musician. It's like you have a job to do to give people some sense of hope that they will be able to overcome whatever ails them, and whether it's the world that they live in, or having problems with their mate, or not being able to have children, or whatever the issues are, finding giving people hope, I think is like really, really important. Um, and one of the things uh, with Beyonce, I worked with her on Dream Girls and in the Cadillac Records, that James story. And we use everything about female empowerment, and it's about we have to change the world in that through the choices that we make in these movies. And so what she did, because we also did work on the songs, because both of them had songs. We broke them down like a monologue. I wouldn't let her sing until she had it down like as a monologue that was working. That she was really feeling she was going after stuff, she was being proactive, everything had a picture to it. Um, and then only then did they allow her to sing. But it worked so well for her in terms of her sensibility as an artist, because it was the message we were giving out in those two movies was that no matter what befalls you, there's always hope to change it. So she called me up about it. I mean, around the time when Single Ladies came out, and she said that it was about maybe 6 months or something after we finished working on Cadillac Records. And she said, I just want you to know it's coming out in a week, and it's all about what we worked on. So thank you for giving me that through my music, I can also continue to give women, hope that their world is not done because people have decided for us that we are not good enough to have a voice because we happen to have a vagina, and it's like to me, it is what it is. It's like kind of the history of the world is going to history, anthropology, cultural anthropology, things I studied in school, which is like the most all religions, always women are second. No, they're second in line. They're not supposed they have to be at the back of the church or the mosque or the synagogue or whatever. They have to be covered up. They have to follow rules that men don't have to follow, and this is a history of women's um history. And so that she was able to do that in her music turned her from a pop princess to being an iconic singer because we used something that was important that the world needed to hear, not just Americans, not just people of color, but all people around the world. Because not just women are being oppressed. There's so much oppression going on in the world, especially now. There's so much voice to hate right now that it's like we have a job, guys, to change that, at least through the arts, by the choices that we make. Very important. So it's not just as important to be real or truthful, because that's who cares? What we want to do is use our platform to be able to change the world. I call it empowerment through the arts. And it's just about the choices that you make when they're watching you. And the people that you love the most are the people that do that.
So,
Okay,
Lana, we had talked about bringing up a question, maybe that we want to pose to the students. Did you want to bring that up now?
but I don't remember.
Oh, okay. So we were gonna ask, and this could be an interesting question for you to ask, if you have encountered any specific challenges in approaching certain auditions or scene work recently, and kind of asking you know, how she might approach that, if anyone wants to volunteer that question. Maybe think about it for a minute. Think about some past scene work and auditions that you've had, and whether there was a block or something happened where you had trouble sort of connecting.
Well, okay, well, here's the thing. If I don't know the audition, I don't know what
Yeah,
the audition is really hard.
right. Right, right.
I mean, their auditions, and I will say, okay, this is what's missing. This is why you didn't get a call back, or this is why you didn't book the job because you did get the call back. It's like it's like again the magic pill theory about actors. Like, how do I play this? How do I play that? How do I play a pimp? How do I play head of a corporation? There is no one way to do anything. It's like it depends on what's going on and the psychology of what's happening, their previous history. Do they end up losing at the end? Do they end up again becoming more important? Do they end up losing the corporation? It's just there's so many things that you have to. It's uh, one of the things that just I'm going to just talk about me as a human being for a second. I could not, because my mother was so abusive, I literally couldn't talk to people. And when I was a kid. So I would count down from five to say five, four, three, two, one before I could say hello to somebody. And so I used to write funny stories. So people would like me because I didn't know how to actually have a communication without thinking anything I had to say was going to be anything they wanted to hear. And so I would write these stories, but they were important. People liked me for those stories. So I put my lack of ability to communicate with people, found another way to communicate to get people to, because all kids want to be liked by their peers, to find a way to really communicate in a way that was funny because I don't want to entertain people, but I couldn't open my mouth because I was afraid I was going to be emotionally beat up for whatever I had to say because that's what I grew up with. So that's what I knew. And so it's understanding the details of good writing, the details of good acting, the details of good directing. It's like it's like you don't just show up and like I've been asked by so many people you should direct because I know how to put all these really cool things out of actors. But the thing is that's one part of the puzzle. You have to tell a story with lights. You have to tell a story with what kind of film you use, or if you use digital, or if you use, um, what kind of lenses you use. The story gets told through many, many, many ways, of which I have zero interest in knowing. But it has to be told this way, so I don't want to direct. But I can help actors find their best possible selves, writers find the best possible selves, and directors, but without talking about like, how do you get the best out of a performance? How do you talk to people in a quick way that allows them their best performance? So the actors want to get you hired over. The stars of the show are the ones that will say, I don't want to work with that person again, and or they'll say, I want this person all the time. So my directors, work all the time because the actors want to work with them because we're doing the same thing. The book is for who's read it. This is a book for directors, writers, and actors because we're telling the same story. So in terms of like the specifics, problems that you guys have, oftentimes you're missing the objective. Objective is a beginning, middle, and end. If you don't have a beginning, middle, and end, you're just telling the same thing. It becomes repetitious to us and to our ears. And with self-tapes, this is the thing that happens in self-tapes. You guys know about dating apps. Swipe left is not a good thing. Swipe right is a good thing, right? So I'll use this as an example. I say, this is an audition. I get 4 lines and 5 lines into your audition. I go, oh, swipe left. Because I have the option these days as in casting to be able to do that because you couldn't do that back in the day. You had to actually, you'd say, well, we don't need to do the second or third scene. Just do the scene. That's what they had the option to do. But now the option is like literally, if you don't grab people by the 4th line, you're probably not going to get too far, and so if they decide they like what you're doing, they're going to watch the whole thing. But if you don't have beginning, middle, and end, swipe left again. You have to tell a story, and it's like just basic storytelling stuff. Not, I want to see how well you can cry. And if one more person asks me, how do I cry on cue? I'm going to kill them. Because it's like, who cares if you cry? Nobody cares if you're crying. What they care is that you're a winner. They care if you're trying against all the odds that you're going to get something that creates like, the more I try, the more I lose, the more I try, the more I lose, the more it becomes a crescendo of importance. And then I have to beat that. Something happens that makes me get to the other side. And then I just told every scene has a beginning, middle, and end. And then the whole script has a beginning, middle, and end. So you have to like piece it together. That's why it's so much work. It's not for lazy people. You have to do the work. So auditions that don't work is because you didn't do the most important part is telling the story, not showing us you could cry on cue, not showing us, and by the way, the things that say how to act, cry here, don't cry here, be angry here, that kind of stuff. Honestly, they don't remember that they wrote that. They just want to see you plump out the character so that they see something that they didn't even know was there. And then they go, I want this person on my set because it's or on my stage because that person's bringing stuff I didn't even think about bringing in. I'm going to give you a great example of that. I worked with a girl who had to be confronting her father for molesting her. It was 10 years later she was confronting him. And in the script, and the writer was the director, so in the script was crying, sobbing, every word you could say this crying, he came up with it after every line. And so she said, well, this has to be really emotional. I said, I think you're angry. I think you want to get your power back. There's nothing more powerless feeling than when someone molests you, especially as a child. And 10 years later, there's going to be rage. And so you're going to get your power back and find all these different ways you're going to mess with them. And, uh, and so, she goes to the audition, and you guys are going to love this because I'm going to do a little acting for you here. Everybody was coming out of the room with tears coming down their face still, and just looking at everybody going, I got this part. I cried. Look at there. This is still there. Tears are still there. And so she calls me up and she says, are we sure we want to make this choice? So everybody's coming out and they're all just crying and doing all this crying and stuff. And so I said, just trust me on this. He said, but the director wrote this. I said, I know, but they wanted to see someone that really bring the essence of something to tell that story we keep talking about. So she does it the way we talked about, and it goes after getting her power back and in a way that's just like it's when you're trying to get your power back, it can be really tasty, it can be fun to get your power back, even in the worst of circumstances. So there's we try to find a way to put some comedy in, not the full comedy, but sardonic comedy and stuff, because it makes you pulls you out of the fray. People want to, they can't see the darkness unless they see the light. Anyway, I digress. So she does that. She does it the way we worked on getting her power back and just messing with this guy's head the way that the other characters had, the way that someone would if you're trying to get your power back from someone who cruelly took it away from you. And so the guy, the director who wrote it said, I finally found someone who understands my script. He said, somebody's coming in here and crying. I don't understand. I don't, and he forgot he wrote it. And literally, when you're writing something, you just remember, they don't remember every little thing that they have in there. You come in with your own stuff that makes the story the most profound and interesting. And so we came up with something and we just personalized it. So there was even more, important to her to win. And she got the job, and she had people that were much bigger than her who wanted it. I could give you many, many stories like that. So the idea of you getting to emotional places that every actor seems to want to get to isn't what gets you the job. What gets you the job is someone who tells the story well and with great need. Make the words necessary. I have to say these words to get what I want. Be proactive. Would you rather watch somebody who's proactive in trying to get something or someone who sits in their stuff? Who would you rather watch? Someone who looks at a mountain, Mount Everest, and says, I'm going to climb that mountain, and you watch them climb it. Even though they might die, they might slip, they may lose air because up near the top, it's hard to breathe. You may freeze to death, you may have an avalanche, all this kind of stuff. Or do you want to watch the person who's looking up at Mount Everest going, oh, wow, that's a big, tall mountain. I kind of freaked out by that. I think I'm just gonna go home. Okay, well, they had emotions, but who cares? We want to see people do things. I can't say enough about that because the whole thing about, again, going back to me, I always talk about myself to help you remember your stuff. When you grow up in any version of abuse, and even if abuse came from being bullied by friends and your home life was fine, it's like there's always something, being a child is not easy. And and so the thing is to watch someone really try to overcome and win with that pain and the issues that they have is somebody we want to watch because we want to duplicate that. We want to watch people who are movers and shakers. And if you look at the history of all the most important people of the world, not just actors, forget actors for a second, politicians, Gandhi, people that were, they didn't have to be nice people. They could be, evil people, but they accomplished a lot. They're iconic, whether they're infamous or famous in history, right? They all were about overcoming really difficult circumstances. And oftentimes, again, it's where the psychology science comes in from childhood, because they say that you're defined on who you are by the time you're 6. And one of the reasons for that is that your lens is pure. The lens that you look through isn't been sullied by or tainted by life happening and you trying to protect yourself. So by the time you're 6, you start to protect yourself more. And then you're saying through don't hurt me's, you're saying through I can't do that, I'm afraid to do that because this is what's going to happen. But before that, you take things in a very pure way. So we want to be able to see like what kids do. They're very proactive. They want a toy, they'll do anything to get it. They'll negotiate, they'll seduce, they'll be violent, they'll threaten, they'll do whatever it takes to get that toy. It's just, and they're so pure and they're doing it that we forgive them their insanity that they bring. And that's where we want to come from, that place of that kind of forward motion of I'll do anything to get to win, makes us applaud you, makes us want um, to watch you over and over again. I can't wait to watch this movie coming out with so and so because that person always makes me feel good. Makes me feel empowered, makes me feel I can overcome anything because that person's doing that all the time I see them. And that's how a star is born. It is everywhere in the world too. So again, to me, it's like people are people are people. Psychology is based on being a human being, a human animal. Cultural anthropology taught me something when I was in university that I didn't think was true. That people are people. That culture was made a big difference in how people took things in, but that's just not so. It's everybody has the same stuff. I'm about to go to Japan next week to Tokyo, and you'd think that would be very different from the American culture. I mean, it isn't how I find that we have the same issues all over the world. How we negotiate life is culture. How we negotiate through the lens of our culture, but we all have the same issues. So so you want to be able to have people relate to what you're doing anywhere in the world. Now, Parasite, I don't know if any of you guys saw Parasite, which is, I think is one of the best movies ever made. It's basically the overall objective is family. You do anything for family. Just keep it simple, very simple. Everybody can relate to it. It was a movie in Korean, and that it's was the only movie that's ever won Best Foreign Film and Best Film in Oscars. Best overall film and best I mean, English film and best if it wasn't English, best best foreign film, which was because it was that good. Because we saw different levels from the rich people, from the poor people, from the servants to the people. It was all about how far you would go to protect and take care of your family. And so it was totally, it was funny, it was dramatic, it had it all. And that's and I think that's important for you guys to know that it only comes from being proactive and your objectives, going after stuff and going like a child does. And remember, whenever when you're an adult, when you really want to win, and the other person is going, is two, is not, is two, and you're saying you're really clear about your opinion, and the other person is totally clear about their opinion, and you may figure out halfway through this conversation that you're actually wrong. And what do? You still maintain you're right. That's what kids do, or you fall 10 feet away. You go, look what you made me do. That's a kid thing. No, it's an adult thing. We do it too as adults. When we're really attracted to someone, what do? We can't sit still. We smirk, we giggle too much. We just like the stakes are high. We become children, and that's good. We want to duplicate the forward motion, the tunnel vision of a child. No matter what period of time it is, whether it's in the future, whether you're with science fiction, whether it's a doctor show or whatever, it's still being proactive as we want to see people who are trying to attempt to overcome and win. Okay, I got a couple of hands here. The hand emojis. Okay, someone pick them.
Yeah.
Mary,
Uh, my question is let it go a formula for overcoming performance anxiety, like especially in case of auditions. When I'm rehearsing for an audition, like I do a great job. At least I feel like I do a great job when I watch my audition. But then,
I
uh,
great, great answer, great answer. Okay. I know that because everybody goes through that anxiety. It's like you're not alone. It's like before I do a TV show where they want to talk to me about what I do and the stars I work with and blah 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 blah. Blah. I'm so damn nervous. It's ridiculous. But I've learned this and I've taught this to people who are huge people. Like Halle Berry before she went to do Monsters Ball, she was terrified that she was going to screw up, and she was crying. And I told her we coach, and she was about to leave to go to New Orleans to shoot, and I gave her this, and it just works. It's like you embrace your fear and you say to yourself, I'm afraid. I should be afraid. I feel like I'm being judged because they have reason to be afraid. And when you accept it and embrace it, you'll find the handicap, the part that makes you screw up is the part that when you're trying to make it go away. Like when you try not to cry, more you cry. More you try not to be nervous, the more nervous you're going to get. Same concept, right? So if you just say, I'm nervous, I should be nervous. This scares the shit out of me. I'm meeting these important people, whatever the circumstances are. And then you say that right before you go in, or when you start to feel like your stomach is about to fall out the window, is that you just say that to yourself, and it takes away the awful part of the fear. Nerves are good, but if you have the crippling kind of nerves, they're bad. I just gave you a way to take out the cripple part. The nerves are good because it makes you be excited. It gives you adrenaline. Nerves gives you adrenaline to want to accomplish whatever the character wants to accomplish, right? So that kind of nerves is good, but it becomes crippling when the adrenaline becomes you suck. I hate myself. I'm a fraud. All these things that you say to yourself. I just got to not be nervous. And then those relaxation exercises that I just think are stupid, because like we don't want to see a relaxed performance. We want to see somebody who's like going at the end of their rope and trying to like I can't deal with this anymore. I need to overcome this. That's what we want to see. So those relaxation exercises get you out of that mood. Next thing you know, swipe left. You know, and so we want the good nerves. The bad nerves, we take it away if you embrace them. I'm nervous. I should be nervous because blah 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 blah. And you can say that to yourself over and over again. It really works.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. That's a good question. First time anybody's ever asked me that question before. It's an excellent question. Okay, so Mary? Mary,
Yeah, hi. Thank you so
um,
much. Oh yeah, MC is what people call me, or Mary Catherine. But
um,
yeah, MC the MC.
okay.
Yeah, so I have a question. It's kind of specific, but I'm doing a scene in one of my classes, and the director is always giving us notes on, like, for me, trying to kind of achieve this certain, I guess, bar. And I'm constantly trying to figure out in the scene while staying in moment, like trying different things, to achieve how he's envisioning it to look. And it throws me out of the scene, and it also gets me in my head. And I'm trying to learn how to let it go and just listen to my instincts instead of trying something and thinking, oh, is this what he means by that? So I was wondering if you can help me on that or give me some advice.
Well, again, this is I work with so many directors that are like major directors, and I was married to one for 35 years. It's you're being taught by a director. He's directing you. He's not teaching you how to act. So the thing
Mhm.
is that you're putting yourself in one of those situations where you should learn how to just make choices and be able to kind of go with the flow with a regular acting teacher, not a director. And so that when you work with a director, he can throw stuff at you and you can go with it. The problem is you're trying to do two things at once, which is learn how to act better and also take direction. But the problem is that you get a director who teaches acting just directs you. And so it's like you're not really learning how to do it. So he's going to throw all this stuff out at you, and you're going to try to please him, and you're not going to be able to do because again, what they're looking for is someone who's going to plump out if you do something that's different than what he said, but because you've learned acting from a regular acting teacher, just someone just teaches acting, is that you'll know how to this. He's asking me to be more angry here. Well, I'll use a different substitution here, someone who really pisses me off, or I'll use a different scene objective here to get him to push his buttons to get my power back from a way that's more organic. But otherwise, you're just doing what you think he should do. So like, be angry, and it's like you're just going to yell, and that's not good acting. Be funny. I love this one when directors say be funny. It's like what makes things funny is you're so desperate, and it's such dark stuff that you're using that you can't help but be funny. Because one of my specialties is comedy, and so the thing is that it's just you can't. A director does that, so I said, this is how you translate what a director wants you to do. And but you can't, the hard part for me is that you're being trained by someone who is a director. He's just directing you. I don't know how you're going to take that outside of that because you're going to be waiting for someone to give you notes. And half the time they don't give you notes, they expect you to come and have your work done. They're going to micromanage every moment because they don't have the time to take care of you. Because they have a whole production they have to take care of. It's They have to take care of the lighting. They have to take care of the sound. They have to take care of which lenses they want to use and how many setups they want for that scene and what exact setups they want for the scene. And then you're acting, and you're only one of maybe four people in that scene. So that micromanaging something from a directorial point of view is never going to really happen on the set.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
know,
makes sense.
so you just need to learn from like regular acting teacher who doesn't direct you. I always tell people, so they say, well, what do you want? They'll say, I say, I don't want anything. I just want you to like know what do you want? And then you as your personality go after it because you're unique. There's only one you in the world. And all the stuff you've experienced. I have seven brothers and sisters, and we're all quite different. The same parents. We're all quite different. We all have different ways we express ourselves. We all have different priorities and that kind of stuff. But and we came from the same parenting. So the thing is that we're all special. The only way that you're going to do something that makes other people think you're special too is being authentically you in a circumstance that makes you need to really be proactively trying to get something where your quirks and your mannerisms are allowed to emerge organically.
Copy that. Thank you so much.
Okay, 10-4. Okay. All right. I think I have a hand up with Nasea.
Messiah, yes. Thank you so much. I had a question earlier, but you answered that one through your talking. I have another one now. I
Oh,
went
fun.
yeah, another one came. I want to thank you for talking to us again. I have your book like digitally and hard copy. Like I love it so much.
Wait for the next one. The next one's coming, and it's going to be
No,
at
I heard you say that. I wrote that down. I was like, I'm definitely
Barnes and
gonna go.
Noble. Barnes and Noble big book signing, you guys, the
Yeah.
30th of April, and you have to contact them to get because people you can get the book and sign and the whole event happening there. But you have to, they don't have the site up ready yet for people to get the tickets. It's not, it costs you nothing to get the tickets, just you have to buy the book. But the book is really good. So if you like this one, you guys, this one's much better. Same 12 steps, but there's so much more stuff. 20 years is a long time. This is a 20-year anniversary. It's a long time. I've added so much stuff to the technique as well as things to how to play different kinds of addictions. The other one was 5 and now there's 25 in this new book. There's how to take the victim out of being someone who's killed and die with dignity, how to do that. So there's some really cool stuff in there. There's like I'm really so proud of it. Anyway, I'm
No,
voicing it.
I believe it. I'm definitely gonna buy that. But my new question is I've been working on like the subtleties of acting because I had an acting coach and we really worked on like stakes and like if you don't do it you're going to die. So I've been working on, just allowing the words to work for you and to like still keep those high stakes but not make it so like not coming so dramatic with the scene if that makes sense. So to play like the subtleties while also keeping those stakes high.
Okay, okay, I'm telling you exactly what you're doing and tell me if this doesn't feel right. You're pushing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when you just let that push it, I got to show everybody I have these high stakes. That's when you just let it, just like let it go. Step 12, let it go. You'll have moments that it will be crazy things will happen. Moments will be super subtle, but it will be a roller coaster ride of cool stuff. But you can't when you're pushing to prove yourself. That's not good. That's why I'm not happy with it. It's not about being subtle because not everything needs to be subtle. If I want my boyfriend not to leave me, if I'm subtle about keeping him in my life, please, I just need you to be in my life. And he's gonna go, that's cool. Not a big deal. I go without you. I'll kill myself if you leave. Then he's more likely to say maybe he's emotionally hostage, but he still stayed. So it worked. But the thing is we do things to get what we want. And sometimes being a little bit more dramatic is going to benefit you in getting what you want. And sometimes being very subtle will help you get what you want. But you can't think in terms of proving that you can be high stakes. It's the pushing thing. And that's one of the notes I will give people. I'll say, you're pushing. I say, same stuff. I'm not going to give you any new inner work. I think what you're doing is good, except for it's you're pushing so hard. I don't believe you. Because people don't push in life. What they do is just they have their feelings and they're going after stuff. And it's a roller coaster ride. Think about every argument you've ever had. It's always like sometimes it's kind of soft and then goes into another pitch and too loud and people screaming, breaking things, and then it goes back to being really subtle. And then, we got to talk this out, and we shouldn't be fighting like this. And then the next thing you know, I was like, why did you say that to me? Like really, literally, that was really mean. What do you mean that wasn't mean? You're the one that's being mean, and all of a sudden it escalates. It's like it's just you're thinking too hard about proving that you have a capacity to feel great big things. And so just the let it go chapter of the book is so super important because you got to just trust that the work that you've done is going to work. And like Christopher Walken, what you do is when you feel like something isn't working, because it's never going to be perfect. Perfection is not like we're going, artists should never be perfect. The perfection is the antithesis of art. So it's constantly a work in progress. So you're adding, changing. It's reworking. It's just like writing is rewriting. Right? You don't give somebody the first take that you do as a writer. It's like the book that some people here have. That was 4 years and 25 rewrites. Now, if you were to read the first one, it would have been so dense and so horrible. You would have just like, oh, this is so hard to read. And it was. It was bad. But then just like bits and pieces, working it out, working it out, working it out. 4 years. And literally 6 in the morning till 10 in the morning every day. I worked on it. It was my appointment time. So even on vacation, I would call earning the tequila because I usually go to vacation in Mexico. So I'd earn my tequila by working at 6 in the morning till 10 in the morning, and then I go out and play and have fun. So it's like, but it's hard work because again, it's like these people who expect to just because I'm talented that I should work that I don't need to keep training aren't going to work, or if they do, they will get 2 lines here, 2 lines there, but it's like don't get anything of any importance. Okay.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, Layla.
Hi, thank you so much, first of all, and yeah, you can ask my question. Do you hear me?
I hear you.
Perfect. So my question to you would be like, what are your thoughts regarding like doing multiple projects, aka characters at the same time? How can you give everything you're saying, like how can you give the same energy to all of them? Yeah.
Well, it's hard to do. I mean, if you have a choice, I would say just like separate them. If you have a choice, if you don't have a choice because it's a small part here and a small part there, so you can't really concentrate, and you have to figure out which is the one that you want to spend the most time on because you like it better or that you relate to it better, resonates better with you. It's just because what happens is we do try to enter the body of that person. So in order to do that is if you have an entirely different character, you're going to have to like try to separate as right before you shoot. Like I said, I need an example because it's like sometimes the characters kind of merge you could use the same kind of work in each part, but I find that when you have a big enough part, you usually don't have that choice. You, and the only time that happens when you have 3 days between projects to do the next one, and then I might start working with my client on uh, near the end, but we don't mix it up. I don't want to ever mix it up. We find a way to not mix it up so we can have the 100% attention to that character. But I just don't know how many times you're going to have that problem.
Yeah.
So it's a rare problem to have. So it's like usually like you have a part and you have a part. You have at least a day between to reconnect and reconfirm and that stuff like that. That's again the reason why we study is because we come to find the stuff that works for us when we study. Like I know I could use this because it worked for me in class, and so it's really easy. I can just use this. This person always brings this out of me. This is the character's needs, and so you can shorthand your stuff if you do a class.
Mhm.
That really breaks down scripts and stuff.
Okay, thank you so much for answering that. And I have another like qu a quick question, but I feel like you kind of already talked about it. But what if you get a lot of callbacks and you're always in the final round, but you don't book the role? Like where do I like where should I focus? Because it's like, okay, it's kind of working. I'm getting callbacks. I'm in the final round, but I didn't book it. So
So
yeah.
that's that means something's missing, but I'd have to see your tapes to see
Yeah.
what's missing because you're getting called, but there's something good there, but there's obviously something missing because you're not booking. And
Mm-hmm.
you have to I don't know. I can't help you out without not seeing them. But that is a common problem, but that's up to you, your teacher to help figure out what's missing. 'Cause I will tell, I give scenes out to my class. I give you scenes that will help you fix the problem areas. And so you work on this, and this is a scene that will help facilitate that the area that you are lacking in. That's keeping you from booking. So people, so then the next thing knows is they're booking, because we were fixing the problem that exists. But you could tell, I mean, the teacher should be able to tell what's missing from your scene work class.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Thank you so much for that
Absolutely.
advice.
Thank you guys.
Sorry, go ahead.
Let's have fun. Party anyway.
There is a question in the Q&A board by
I was just gonna
Wiley
say.
Strout.
Okay,
Yeah, I
The
was just gonna say
question
there's a
says,
question in there. Go ahead.
yeah, ahead, Yamani.
what's the question?
All right, it says, what school of acting teaching influenced you the most in crafting your technique? Is it Meissner, Strasberg, is it Uta Hagen, or Stella Adler?
It's Chubbuck technique.
Sorry?
My technique. Chubbuck technique. My
Okay.
technique. Hello. Power of the
Was there
act.
one that you were the most influenced by?
Um, Probably Stanislavski.
Hmm.
But that's like all things wonderful. They have to keep changing and evolving, and it can't just stay with what somebody did 100 years ago. You gotta like grow and make it better. Like any kind of art form. It doesn't just stay the same. That's why we go from realism to having cubism, to having different kinds of art forms, pop art. There's like different kinds of art forms that like have emerged from the way things have grown in history of any kind of art. And so I think most techniques are based in some form of Stanislavski. He was the first one that said, let's keep it real, and then they kind of merged from there. So it's mine is about being proactive and winning. That's the difference. The others don't really have a game plan. When I was acting, I found that a lot of these books about acting were very theoretical, and I didn't know what to do with theory. So I said, someone needs to write a book on how to do it. So I came up with steps, 12 steps, and every formula of how to play stoned or how to play drunk or how to play pregnant is a formula. It's a 1, 2, 3, do this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everything has a formula base to it. It says math and everything. That's what I learned in my anthropology classes. And so how to like really create this stuff from a formula that makes you really feel these aspects. So the idea of my technique is definitely its own animal, but it's based mildly in the idea that you gotta like have some truth and reality to it.
Ivana, I know you travel a lot, teaching workshops and teaching your technique. Do you ever go to New York?
No.
Okay.
Well, at least I have a reason why, because I part of the thing about me traveling is like I like to travel to places I haven't been to before or places that are more exotic. And I spent my parents are from New York, and we used to spend every summer for 2 months. It'd be in Manhattan, we'd be in the Bronx. And so I just kind of feel like I don't need to be there, so if I'm getting all these opportunities to be in all these really cool places all over the world, I'm going to take that. But that's just self-centered. I just really I should probably go to New York at some point, but I really just like the places I get to go to and explore all these really cool people, all my new best friends all over the world. And also just like to know that they've been empowered by working this way because I take the shame out of your experiences because being an actor or being an artist at all is because you have something you want to express. And it's usually something that you want to express that comes from some kind of sense of experiences that have caused shame for you. And so in the expressing of these feelings, it makes you feel like you don't have to be ashamed of it. You can use it to actually entertain people with it. And that's a pretty cool thing. It's a cool thing to be able to do. And um, so the thing is that it just, to me, the last really incredible experience I had was being in Saudi Arabia because it's like you think there's so much oppression there, and like women were first allowed to drive 2018, and it was literally like most of you don't have to anymore, but do women do it? If there's a man that they're not married to or is not a family member, they have to put on, they immediately, and they do it really fast. I remember having a little lunch with some people that, because I'm into antiquities, ancient antiquities, and this guy had a bunch of stuff that I wanted to buy from him. So I have stuff that's like 6,000 years old. I have like really cool collection of like cool stuff that has story. Everything has a story to it, that's what I love about the collection. Anyway, so he was telling me the stories about some of his collection and stuff. And his wife was in a summer beautiful dress. And next thing I know, I turned to the left, and there she is in a full-on burqa. I go, what happened? What changed? It was so fast. I was like, she was a quick change artist, like, all of a sudden I could see there was her eyes. And I said, what happened when I wasn't looking? He said, well, a guy came in, because the guy who was our driver came in to get us. And so it's like understanding like this kind of world that they really, the men, the women, everybody was just like, even the royals that brought me there, this was from the film commission there, they said they loved the class, they felt so good about it, and they want me to come back like a lot, but I just feel like I just there's so many places I'm set up to work in the next year and a half. So I guess that's the very long version of not New York yet. Okay, I got Anton.
Hi, Ivana.
Hi.
Can you speak to the importance of working on yourself, maybe in addition to building on work as an actor, or like should you stop at some point if you're kind of just hitting your head against the wall and just maybe just work on yourself and get to know yourself, or can these work in harmony as you're growing as an actor?
Well, here's the thing. It's like the one doesn't negate the other. I think working on yourself, the more you know about yourself, the more choices, more colors you have. So the more things that you know that trigger you, or the more things that you know that make you happy, that's more things that you can utilize in your. Remember when you were a kid, you had like this box of crayons that was really small and only had like 8 crayons in it. And then as you kept getting older, they kept adding you got the big box of crayons. And that was always like, I love the big box of crayons because it had all these possibilities in my crayon, my drawing. And so just think of this as the more you know about yourself, the more colors you have in your crayon box. And to give you a visual on that. And so it's like, I just say, should I go to a therapist? Will that ruin my ability to get to my emotions? And I said, I think that people don't really understand what therapy does. Therapy doesn't take it away. It helps you manage life better with it, but it doesn't make it go away. So it's like, so you be able to, when you do therapy, you're able to understand yourself better to be able to use that as more crayons in your box, you know? And the more you get to, I think it's a good question in terms of not self-care, but more self-knowledge. And it doesn't negate itself. One does not negate the other. So you don't have to like, well, I have to take care, I have to do my self soul searching, whatever, and then I'll act and I'll act and then I'll do soul searching. It's not separated, it's all the same thing. Because a great artist, actor included, are people that soul search all the time to make their choices.
Thank you.
When I'm talking, do you guys think about your own stuff? 'Cause I always try to bring up my own stuff as examples. for you guys to be able to go, aha, I could use this. And she said this, it reminded me of my life and da 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 da. Are people getting what I'm doing here? Because I'm trying to get you guys to like be thinking about some of the things that you guys can use in your work that will give you what you're talking about, Anton. And be able to explore more of the things like, oh, this I forgot this happened. So I'm going to use this. This will be a good thing to use and blah 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 that I'm doing. And I want you to, it's constant exploration from okay.
And is that a direct substitution, or is it like kind of
No, it's
just
inner objects, substitution, inner monologue. It's like it's all the things that you can do is on a natural. When we're just living life, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in our heads, and so we have to just duplicate that. So it's not just one thing. It's like all the things that make up us as human beings. So it's like for whatever thing that's going on. It's just more information is always good. It's being informed is always good. Education is extremely important in living a prosperous life. And I don't mean prosperous meaning just like money. I'm talking about prosperous in terms of spirit and emotions and stuff. But I always say pain equals prosperity if you choose to see it that way. And I think it's a choice that you need to make in terms of giving people hope. Getting back to that again, but I just think that we should think in terms of that, not think in terms of how emotional can I get or how much can I make this a true emotional experience, but you really should be thinking about how do I change the world? I think that's really important. I think if you're not into doing that, and that's not your flavor, then I don't think you should be an artist because that's what artists do. We change the world in our wonderful way. And I think that we want to take that on because that's a really, really wonderful thing to be able to take on. And I hope that you guys would want to do that because I think that in our little ways, we happen to have a big pulpit. Movies and TV. More people watch movies and TV than they have religion or have political ideologies or any of that stuff. So people, you have a pulpit that is huge, so let's take advantage of it.
Martha, you had a question?
Yeah, I had one question because I was working on one scene and I used a substitution. And this one day it worked, but then I had another day where I felt like emotionally better in general, and it didn't work that much anymore. Do you have any suggestions for this, or just try to work it out and find something else?
So every day make something else happen that's more important to you than whatever you were using yesterday. So you use whatever's going on in your current life because that's what's in your face. That's what you're thinking about. So we use if we don't have anything important or like particularly dramatic going on in our present day lives, we always have our childhood stuff. We always have our issues with an ex or something like that, or issues at home. But if we don't, but everything is if there's a dramatic thing that happens to you, then you got to use that because you got to stay in the moment, stay in the now. Because I can tell when as universal I, as an audience, I can tell when you're in your head, and you're in your head when you're trying to make something work that doesn't work for you anymore, because you're using something that is like unresolved that's happening in today's world. You'll be there. And it means you may have to change it. The director said something to you, made you feel like a piece of shit. So it's like, I'm going to use a director for this because this character is really angry at the person she's talking to. I'm going to use a director's making me feel like a piece of shit. But all of a sudden I changed it up. I'm just like right there. All right, there's a person, the crafty guy is really hot. And so I have a crush on him. I'm going to change my substitution for the person that I want to have like me in that way as the crafty's guy. So it's like just keep yourself open to anything. It's like I could be painting a sky, but I feel like today I want it to be pink with purple polka dots. Tomorrow when it's going to be plaid. And so I finally ultimately have to, because have you ever seen there's a showing of Picasso where they would show his first drawing, then and then it goes to ink, and then it goes into the first pencil, then another pencil, then a pen, and then ultimately to colors and oil paints. And you see this like you see the concept in the first one, and you see how it changes fairly dramatically as it goes along, dependent on what Picasso was going into. It's a great, they used to show it all over the world, this particular exhibition. It was very interesting because art is art. It's like you constantly have to keep going with the flow of what's happening in your life and what's happening in your heart. And if something changes, then go with that. You'll find you won't have that happen if you just accept that something new just popped into your head or something new is happening and try it. You try and you use a substitution. I usually say use pictures. You're in your trailer or your dressing room or whatever, uh, and you're rehearsing for a audition. Use a photograph of your substitution, and then you'll see like I'm feeling all this stuff, or I'm not feeling all this stuff, or this other picture of this other substitution is making more stuff happen. Photographs are really helpful.
Okay, I think unless there's a super quick rapid question, I think we are at time.
I don't do short sentences.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think we're good.
I go on and on and on. It's all good stuff, right? I answer questions.
Such good stuff. I mean, such a just in-depth, what a treat to have you here, really. I mean, it just that's what it felt. It felt like such a treat to have you here. And we're just so grateful for your time.
Well, thank you so much. And I appreciate you asking me. I got some hearts happening here.
Yes.
Oh, that's very nice. Okay, so a little more. A few
Send
more.
out the heart.
Uh, I like to be appreciated too, guys. I needed the love. Okay.
Oh, thanks, Ivana. And don't forget, if you want to go to her book signing on April 30th, keep checking check the Barnes Noble website, right? And will you have it on your website as well?
It won't be on my website, but it will be on my Instagram. It'll be on
Okay,
Instagram or check out Barnes and Noble at the Grove. It's at the
great. Follow her on Instagram. I'm actually going to put that in the chat when you leave, just so people know where to go, and they'll have all the information there. That will be a really great thing to go to, and it's a must. It's a must to at the very least to buy the book. So I'll put all that information in there. I know they'll be interested in that. And to get this book signed and to see you again and hear you again. I mean, that another treat. Why not?
That's the Grove, 7 o'clock, the 30th of April.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
So welcome
Really
and
appreciate
putting
you.
this together because the actors seem to be getting a lot out of it. So I thank you for making sure that people are being educated and in a loving and a special way.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Go get some rest, take care, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and thank you again. We appreciate it.
Next time.
All
Bye.
right. Yeah. Bye-bye. All right. We are officially on a dinner break until 7 o'clock. So go ahead, grab a bite to eat. We're going to wrap up with our last class of the retreat. Can't believe it already. A Meisner class by the fabulous Holly Gagne of Playhouse West. If you are a performer in that class, Holly wanted this to be more of a cold reading class. So those materials are now in your class folder. So you may look at those over your break or during class. And if you are going to follow along, that is now in the folder for you. If you need that link again, we will put that in the chat. And we will see you all at 7 p.m.